What's going on, boys? Smelly Jelly here, and I just got done seeing the other video game adaptation that you might not have had on your radar, Oregon Trail. And I use that pretty loosely, because honestly, other than name and I guess aesthetic, like alone, it's a very loose adaptation of the pretty, very loose story of Oregon Trail. So I'm gonna count it regardless. Anyways, I remember this wasn't on my radar till very recently. I started the week off just trying to look for something to watch in theaters on the weekend. You know, they had like Pope's Exorcist, Nefarious. I did see Reinfeld. That was a really good movie. But I saw this one, and I grew up playing one of the newer iterations at the time of Oregon Trails as a kid. And I really enjoyed that game, so I was like, oh, I'm seeing this movie on Friday night. Absolutely, I'm in. I didn't see any of the trailers. I just went in blind, and I did read some of the articles, and a lot of people were saying, oh, the horror feels shoved in, this looks very cheap, and, you know, it feels very kind of made for Sci-Fi Channel-y. I don't know, I didn't see that. Now again, I will agree on one point, the horror comes last. This is like a drama first, a western second, and a horror third. And don't get me wrong, there are a few kind of grisly, shock scenes. There's some really good horror-esque tension building used for some of the scenes. But the director and the writing, they really kind of focused in more so on the story at hand and the character building throughout the movie, more so than kind of the horror entertainment, the horror shock value that is sprinkled in enough to where I would say it's teetering on horror adjacency, but you could reasonably lump this into being a horror movie. I think that's going to turn a lot of people off, especially with a name like Oregon Trail. But if you go in with kind of an open mind, I think there's a lot to appreciate here. What I didn't see from some of the comments and articles was like the cheap production value. Like, obviously it's not like big budget, but I've seen a lot of direct to like VOD movies. This movie looks seriously more impressive than some of the stuff that I've seen recently, at that. I was, shocked with just the picture quality and cinematography, the way like the camera will move from character to character during exchanges of dialogue, and just kind of like the fast-paced shots that they use in some of the action sequences. I was seriously impressed with the camera work in this movie. The set pieces, again, some of the objects that were like placed, it's like, oh, that looks a little too new for, the time period. But other than that, I think they did a fine job at kind of like really setting the mood and the atmosphere of frontier America. I think they did a great job on that end. The acting, some of the characters are written pretty cliched, I would say, and although the delivery was fine for the movie, I thought it was fine, some of the dialogue was trying a little too hard, I felt like they could have been a bit more straightforward with some of the writing for the character exchanges. But other than that, I thought it was, it was sufficient, it was good. There were a few actors in the movie. The ones that come to particular are the one that played Abigail and the one that played Eric. I thought they did a fantastic job. They were really kind of went into their roles very nicely. The special effects, and again, it's a horror movie third. When they did show it, I thought it looked great. It was fine. Not as bombastic as I would hope it to be with a name like Oregon Trails, but like for what they showed, I thought they did a fine job. I'm gonna give this movie a 7.5 out of 10. I'd see it again, to be honest. I really enjoyed it, and I went in with low expectations, but I left pleasantly surprised, I'd say. If you are planning on to see Oregon Trails, I know it's got a pretty small theatrical release right now, but it should be coming to video on demand, like I think a month from now. If you're going to see it, just kind of rearrange your expectations. Don't expect some sort of grindhouse splatter movie. I know with a name like Oregon Trails, like that kind of sucks, but if you go in expecting just more of a character drama with a little bit of horror sprinkled in, I think you might enjoy it. Anyways, thank you so much for sticking around. If you could like, comment, and subscribe, that would be fantastic. What do you guys think of Oregon Trails if you've seen it? Let me know in the comments down below. I'll catch you boys next time.